Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
For the identity of the real Marty Levinson, please stay tuned for the Northtown News Magazine.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that lemon light city, sweet home Chicago. 224 446. Come on, baby, now get your business fixed. Come on, honey, don't you wanna go back to the lemon light?
Hey there, I am really Marty Levinson. Don't let anybody fool you. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Thank you, Marty. Avi Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Let us up on the web at www.ntnm.org, communitypolicingcaps24.org. We're very pleased that 2 new officers are put on each of the various, forget if it's 22 or 23 now, police districts in Chicago, but the Community Policing Office really does a lot to help. And as a matter of fact, and by the way, Sonny Hirsch in his spare time is chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. And if you go in, CAPS 24 is his website, and that's really only for Rogers Park, West Rogers Park, and the northern part of Edgewater. And one of the guys who was one of the original big-time pushers for community policing way back when it first started, is my guest, who is the alderman of the 49th Ward, and is it 6 terms now or 7 terms?
I'm in my 7th term.
Wow, pretty good.
Yeah.
And that is, and
Time flies.
Time flies. And he's also the chairman of the...
I'm chairman of the City Council Committee on Housing and Real Estate.
Big time deal here. And that is Alderman Joe Moore. How you doing?
Javi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Real good, thank you. Is that the job that Bernie Stone used to have?
No, he had the Committee on Buildings.
Okay. So what does housing and real estate do?
We deal with any transaction involving city-owned property and anything having to do with city housing policy. So my committee oversaw the ordinance on the home sharing. What do you?
The Airbus?
Airbnb. The Airbnb ordinance. We also had the affordable housing set-aside ordinance, and anything having to do with city housing policy.
So the Airbnb, that's in a way, I'm really glad I don't live in a place that's next to I got a bad enough problem right now with my neighbors, let alone.
Well, the Airbnb ordinance really struck a good compromise between, acknowledging that there's a new economy and not trying to stifle competition, but at the same time protecting neighborhoods. There were parts of the city that were literally overrun by Airbnbs, and they were no longer a neighborhood. They were more like a resort community. I'm talking areas around near the Loop and in the Lincoln Park community. Up in our neck of the woods, I haven't had any complaints about them, and so I've been supportive of it. It's given people an opportunity to make some extra income. It's given people an opportunity to see neighborhoods in Chicago that they may not otherwise have seen if they're traveling to the city. And rather than staying at some downtown hotel or in a hotel by the airport, they can stay in Rogers Park or West Ridge or Edgewater and not only catch a flavor of the community, but spend some of their money in our neighborhood and help the local economy.
And, there really is like a large influx of business and interesting businesses in the 49th Ward.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have really seen a lot of new businesses open up over the last several years. And I've been busy. There's rarely a week that goes by that I'm not cutting a ribbon. In fact, just a few weeks ago, I cut the ribbon on our new Hampton Hotel. our Hampton Inn that's
Yeah,
located
congratulations.
located right by Loyola University. I spoke with the owner there. They opened up unofficially about a month ago, and he says they are doing far better than they expected. So that's a good sign.
That's a really, people don't realize, we're right next door to Rogers Park. And if people want to, there is really like, when I have an out-of-town relative coming who wants to stay at a hotel, and I'm always happy to have them over here. I got 2 spare bedrooms, I don't mind. But the fact of the matter is, listen, people want their own privacy. I understand that. There really wasn't a half-decent hotel. You either go to the whatever few motels are remaining on Lincoln Avenue and you camp out between the hookers, or, but there's finally a decent hotel in the neighborhood, which
That's
is
right.
nice.
Yeah, and Hampton Inn, I'm a big fan of Hampton Inns. When I travel, I try to stay at an affordable place as possible, and they're a good, affordable, clean hotel. And you're right, the options were very limited. If you had out-of-town guests, they either went to Evanston and stayed at a hotel there, or went downtown and paid through the nose for a hotel down there.
That's putting it mildly.
There wasn't really a whole lot of hotels. I mean, there used to be the old Purple Hyatt over on Toohey, by the Edens Expressway.
You still might be able to get a purple brick if you're lucky.
Well, they pretty much knocked it down, but and then that hotel had seen better days in its last few years.
That's an understatement too.
But now we have that amenity, and it's good for the university because they have a lot of people who visit. But it's also good for the community. We have a lot of people who have 1-bedroom apartments or 2 bedrooms, and they simply can't accommodate their relatives or friends who come in from out of town. They just simply don't have the room, and now they have an option for people close by.
No, I think it's absolutely terrific. As somebody was pointing out to me, I didn't get to see the article, so I don't know if it was true. But, for a long time, my neighborhood next door the real estate values were higher than yours. And now I'm hearing that the 49th Ward has actually surpassed the 50th Ward in real estate value.
Well, there's been a lot of activity. Our rental market is very strong. Our single-family home market, the homes are going for unbelievable prices. And we also have our condo market is finally recovering. And that was where we really took a hit in our condo market back during the crash of 2007,
Yeah,
2008.
because people were building these things like crazy. But they still want Pinewood back, but that's never happening.
We're finally recovering from that. And so our challenge, as it always has been, is to make sure we encourage that kind of development, because people who own property want to see an appreciation. And generally, property values go up, the quality of the neighborhood increases, but we also want to keep it affordable too. And so we've got a number of affordable housing developments on the pike too, to make sure that people aren't priced out of the neighborhood and that they could still live there. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll be making some announcements involving that. In fact, we had a community meeting just recently on a proposal for affordable housing at the corner of Estes and Clark Street, 7070 North Clark. You might recall that's been a big hole in the ground, literally.
Right.
Because there was
that's on the I walked there on the way to Romanian.
Yeah, there's a mixed...
At least somebody finally filed down that girder that was sticking up.
Well, we finally got the owner...
Boy, your enemies were really going to town on you.
We finally got the owner to fill in the hole, and now we've got a quality developer who's got a quality proposal, and hopefully he's requiring some tax credits from the Illinois Department of Housing. That's a very competitive process, so it's by no means a done deal. But I think it's going to be good for the neighborhood and take that eyesore of a corner and actually make some good use out of it.
Can you speak about what kind of development it's going to be, or?
It's going to be, I don't have my notes in front of me, but roughly about 55 units of housing, studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms. That will be at an affordable price to people earning 60% of median income. Now, 60% of median income is based on a 5-county average. It's really roughly the average income in Rogers Park. But the important thing is, as the neighborhood continues to develop, that building can remain affordable. And so you don't have to worry about people who can afford to live in Rogers Park now being priced out in the years ahead.
Because it does become a concern when something becomes gentrified past a point. Just the real estate tax alone can be prohibitive.
And we want to, you want to encourage development, but you also want to make sure that the development is controlled and that it benefits the people who live there now. That's why housing is a very important key element of that, and that's why I'm really happy that I'm chairman of the Housing Real Estate Committee, so I can help control housing policy and also help to encourage the development of affordable and mixed income housing in my community.
No, I think that's pretty cool. And you've got another development coming where maybe coming, because the final approval. But one of the things I've always liked about you and the way you do business there is when you have public meetings about everything.
Right.
People have more than enough opportunity to get up, to speak, to start a movement, to get what they want one way or another. And there's so many people that are so foolish about the way things are run. And, they complain. I hear I hear more than some of the complaints about you. Trust me, when I put you on the show, people are much more likely to call me and complain than they are to be nice. But that's the nature.
That's the nature of
yourself.
business.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't call to complain, I worry that nobody's watching the show anymore.
Well, let me tell you, if a few people aren't unhappy, then you're not doing your job.
Exactly.
Because, the famous quote from Abraham Lincoln, and I'll paraphrase it, you can please all the people some of the time, and some of the people all the time, but if you're pleasing all the people all the time, then you're not doing your job.
No,
Sometimes, particularly in a neighborhood like mine, where you have a diversity of viewpoints, a diversity of opinions, you're going to have disagreement. That's fine. But
yeah, by the way,
push comes to
shove,
you have to make, if you're an elected official, if you're an alderman, even in a very diverse ward, you got to make decisions. And sometimes your decisions aren't going to please everybody, but you try to do what's best for the community and what you think is right. And then you go from there.
Diversity of thought in your ward is a very polite way to put things. All I know is there are very few varieties of nuts that are not available.
Well, I will say this. I've been very blessed. I've been honored to have been elected alderman on 7 different occasions over the last 25 years. Obviously enough people, at least the majority of the people, think I'm doing a decent job.
Well, I think you're stronger than ever right now.
Yep. Well,
the fact that I hate to say it, but like a couple elections ago, you were looking like a goner, and boy, you sure phoenixed yourself out of the ashes. And everybody thought that all these different incumbents up here in this area were going down, and you're the one survivor.
Well, I just work hard and try to do the right thing, and along the way you make mistakes and you correct them and you go on. And I think even in this era, and I don't need to tell you that being an incumbent elected official is not necessarily the most popular thing these days. And we look at what happened in the election last November. People are angry out there, and justifiably so. So it behooves those of us who are in office to try to reach out to people, to be visible, to be accessible. And then when you make tough decisions, like I just made a decision relatively recently on a medical marijuana dispensary in my neighborhood. Some people were strongly against it, but I took the time to listen to them, to try to address their concerns and explain in very great detail why I ended up supporting the proposal.
By the way, I'm glad you did, and not just because I actually qualified for medical marijuana. Did you bring any samples? No. No, actually, I never applied for that. I'm not gonna. Not the point. Maybe 40 years ago, or 30 years ago. but in any event, the point is that I talked to this guy tried to move in over here, and I was going to get him on the show at one point.
You're speaking about the gentleman who ended up,
Well, Bob Kinsey.
yeah, Bob Kingsley. He was the person who has received permission from the state to pursue a medical marijuana facility in the Rogers Park and West Ridge communities. That's the area that the state has given him. And then he has a certain period of time in order to identify a spot and get all the city approvals, and then the state would give him a license to operate.
Yeah, we spoke for over an hour on the phone. He never did come on the show.
And I know what I'm trying to explain to the
sure,
listeners
please.
is originally he was proposing a place in the 50th Ward
Yeah, right next to Devon Bank.
on Western Avenue, and for various reasons that didn't go through, that didn't get approved. So he came over and spoke with me and identified a spot, and I told him I would keep an open mind, and we had our community process and gave people an opportunity to weigh in. And ultimately, after doing a lot of research, I decided that this was worthwhile supporting, and was happy to do so.
The fact is, if you're going to have one of those at all, well, first of all, I have no problem with medical. You know, I think marijuana has been overly demonized, to put it mildly, and then just putting it very mildly. But you know what? This guy was willing to go out of his way in every single way, shape, or form in terms of safeguarding the facility and having it guarded and well lit and being so careful about who could access it. And, you know, you're not going to find too many people that are going to go to greater pains than this guy in order to try to make sure things get done right. What's interesting, too, is he's actually eligible himself, and he's had his own medical problems.
Sure, he's been very forthcoming about his kidney transplants and the fact that medical marijuana has helped him alleviate some of his symptoms as a result of his medical conditions. And boy, I heard from a lot of people who live in our neighborhoods who really need this product. And quite frankly, it's I did a lot of research. The science is pretty clear, as you indicated, that of all these different medications and drugs, marijuana is probably the safest to take. It's certainly safer than all the opioids that are causing all these problems right now.
That's dangerous as crazy.
And that is dangerous as crazy. And so I found it's kind of ironic that people were so concerned about, or some people were so concerned about this medical marijuana facility, and yet 1 block away at the intersection of Clark and Rogers, there's a Walgreens. And in that Walgreens, you can, if you have a doctor's prescription, you can get stuff that is a lot more dangerous to your health and a lot more risky and a lot more addictive than marijuana.
With serious street value, way beyond the marijuana.
Exactly. And, you know, we now have an opioid epidemic in this country. So I think people, you know, I always try to, when ultimately I make a decision, I always try to do it based on facts, not fear and supposition. And there's been, I think because back in the day, in the reefer madness days, marijuana was so demonized, and it was viewed as incorrectly, and it turns out, as a gateway drug to heroin and LSD and all of that. And so people are understandably leery of having a clinic that dispenses this medication that used to have such a bad rap. But that's when you have to step back and go beyond the fear and look at the research and look at the science.
Research, the reality.
And the research and the science shows that, first of all, marijuana is probably the least dangerous, far less harmful to your health than tobacco and alcohol and some of the prescription drugs we just talked about. And also they discovered that these clinics, these medical marijuana dispensaries that have opened throughout the country, they're now, a majority of the states allow them, they have, you know, they've led to no additional crime. That's the big fear. That was the fear expressed in this proposal in my ward. But the studies show no increase in crime. And in fact, some of the studies indicate, and it hasn't been definitively established, but some of the studies indicate that they could actually lead to a reduction in crime.
I would, believe it or not, I very much agree with that. I was going to. There was an officer who was in the 24th Ward who was actually a member of a rock and roll band.
You mean the 24th Police District?
24th Police District, right. You know, he served your area, my area, the whole shot, great guy. So Sonny probably even knows who I'm talking about. And this guy was like, you know, his biggest problem with marijuana was if he wanted to practice with the group, he couldn't inhale anything.
Yeah.
You know, because he's going to get blood tested.
Yeah,
so it really limited
the
him.
contact high is dangerous for folks in his profession.
But in any event, he had to put himself on concert detail because he's really an appreciator of seriously good rock. Well, you are too, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
You've seen what Springsteen 5,272 times now, or
Not quite, but over 50 times, yes.
okay. So the fact is that I asked him, now that everybody's so down on smoking at concerts, you know, what's the difference in the crowd? So he says, first of all, yeah, you can't bring any cigarettes in anymore. You can probably get away a little bit with you know, the unfiltered cigarettes. But he said the difference is in the crowd. When the crowd smoked pot at concerts, they were relaxed. There wasn't any problem. You know, you didn't really have to worry about any kind of uprising with marijuana. When people are drinking, it tends to agitate them much more.
Yep.
And we're talking about a legal drug right now.
Right.
And actually, if I wanted to go into the history about it, I mean, from the major reasons that it became illegal in the first place, well, not the number one reason, but one of the reasons was it was a way for people to keep certain black people down because it was a popular drug in the black neighborhoods, number one. Number two, and this isn't necessarily in order, the largest hemp farmer in the United States of America happened to be Colonel McCormick of the Tribune. And President Franklin Delano Roosevelt...
Probably was about the only good thing about Colonel McCormick.
Probably. But Franklin Delano Roosevelt hated McCormick like there was no tomorrow.
Sure. Well, McCormick was a big isolationist and a rock rib Republican.
Exactly. So that was his way to go against him. Also, when Prohibition, marijuana really wasn't really illegal in most places. Neither was cocaine for a while, too, until like into the 20th century.
Okay.
There was a time when you could actually get Coca-Cola with cocaine in it. Not that I'm advocating that. I'm not. Never. Don't. Seen too many people mess themselves up. But when Prohibition came in, it became
Coca-Cola.
Well, Coca-Cola. Frankly, I don't drink either.
Sorry,
No, you're right. History. You're right. You get to tell jokes to me. I do that. I did it to you. I asked if you brought samples. No, I will drink Coca-Cola occasionally, but no, cocaine is like, that's like over and above and beyond. Forget it, guys. But you know, the liquor when Prohibition became legalized, the liquor companies saw it as competition that they wanted out of the way. Because frankly, you could just drop 3 seeds in your backyard. And by the way, that's something we'll get into at some point in the future. But if you can do that, you know, like if you just throw a few seeds in the backyard, you're going to get a plant. And then you can get to the point of, well, why are you doing this, that, the other thing commercially? Let's understand, too, that there's a lot of money that's going to go to the states as a result.
Sure.
And I remember reading, this is a few years ago, in Alabama, the single largest cash crop was marijuana, larger than the 3 biggest crops that fertile area grew put together. So, you know, if the states cut in on it and the cities are cut in on it, you know, that's an awful lot of money that right now is going toward gang people and bad people that would be redirected in you know, into legitimate pockets. Anyway, that's enough for this soapbox for me. So what else? We got 5 minutes left. What else would you like to tell us you're doing?
My favorite topic is participatory budgeting.
Absolutely, and it's that time of year.
It's that time of year, and we just completed our first round of participatory budgeting. We had, I'll tell you something. This is the 8th year we've done it, and I've always been concerned about there being it's lost its novelty. People are kind of losing their enthusiasm. We had more people attend our latest round of neighborhood assemblies, that's the first step in our yearly process, then since the first year we did it.
Wow.
And I think it's a lot has to do with this past election. People were so discouraged by the results of the election, and they wanted to feel good about democracy again. And what we do in my ward with this process, where I ultimately have my voters, my constituents, vote on how to spend my $1.3 million discretionary fund. I think people wanted to connect and thought bringing democracy and going back to the local level was a way of sort of rejuvenating yourself and to and to feel good about democracy again.
No, I think it's a very good thing.
We now have well over 60 community representatives. Volunteers are going to be coming up with project ideas, and then in the spring we'll have another round of neighborhood meetings where the project ideas will be vetted through the community as a whole, and then we'll put the matter on the ballot and have a vote in early May. And so people who live in the 49th Ward, sign up for my electronic newsletter. All you got to do is go to ward49, the letter number 49.org, and sign up for my newsletter, and you'll find out not only about participatory budgeting, but all the other issues that we're dealing with in the community and all the programs we have and everything.
And you can also follow, by the way, speaking of being open, you can follow him on Friday and go to just about all these places.
That's right. Business promotion thing we do once or twice a month. We have what's called Follow Me on Friday. You find out about that too when you subscribe to my electronic newsletter. It's basically a happy hour from 5 to 7 on Fridays. Usually we go to a new business in the community. We've had so many of them, but sometimes a business that's been around for a while, and the business provides samples of their food as appetizers, and also if they have a liquor license, complimentary beer or wine.
Wait, I didn't know about the complimentary beer or wine.
Oh, so that's why you haven't been to one of them. You gotta come by.
Well, now I gotta, because it's Friday now, I gotta wait till the summertime.
Well, yeah,
but
that's true.
Summertime 5 to 7, there's no reason.
Oh, absolutely, there's no reason not to.
I'm a short walk, I don't have to walk very far. I'll just stumble my way home.
Sun doesn't set until 8:30 in the middle of the summer.
Exactly.
We do a lot of Follow Me on Fridays in the summertime.
No, free liquor? Yeah, I can't eat the food, not kosher, guys, sorry. But I'm not saying it's not good, or you can't eat it, I just can't. But no.
But you can help yourself to a beer or wine, correct?
Well, the beer
You need
is not
kosher
a
wine.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, kosher wine you need, and by the way, if you ever had kosher wine, we call it 10W30. You've had it, I can tell.
Yes, I've been to a Seder or two in my day.
Yeah, no.
Bring out the Mogan David.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because I remember being in line for it at one of the local liquor stores, a nice establishment. And I got this really drunk bricklayer saying, "Oh, Mogan David, I can't tell you how many good times I've had with Mogan David."
Well,
yeah, at one time
when you're in college, it somehow tastes a little bit better than it does now.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Yago Sangria back in the day when I was in college was actually kosher, so that was like the fancy stuff, and probably if I tried it now, I'd want to puke, but that's another story. In any event, okay, so if you'd like to contact the alderman, ward49.org.
That's my website, and then if you want to email us, it's email at ward49@cityofchicago.org.
Alderman Joe Moore, if there's any more transparent aldermen in Chicago, I'm not aware of them, not even close, and I know you say, no, I'm your favorite. Maybe you are, but definitely one of my favorite aldermen.
I know you can't say that, but I know deep in your heart where your true loyalties lie. So thank you.
My pleasure. Anyway, listen, I want to thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Alderman Joe Moore.
It's always a great time to be on your show, Avi.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you, Sonny Hirsch. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, everybody. Stay tuned next week. Bye-bye.